Is it DOJ reviewing NIH funding opportunity announcements? Is it DOJ reviewing NIH grant award?
We've got administrators, we're cutting waste, we're cutting duplicative programs.
You're funding $3 billion less in biomedical research than you did a year prior.
We're spending less on administration of those programs.
3,200 fewer grants.
We're spending, well, many of the grants were terminated because they were grants that were not advancing.
These aren't grants terminated. These are grants not awarded because the panels weren't convened.
We spend 70% of the world's biomedical research out of NIH, 70%. And we're the sickest country in the world.
$18 billion.
I've said it before, and I will say it again. I feel like the hosts at the Fox propaganda outlet have a little bit of a humiliation kink, because why else would they bring Democrats on their shows to shut them down? And that is exactly what we just saw from Congressman Jake Ashenklaus, because he went on Fox and shut down their lies over one of Donald Trump's biggest enemies right now. And that's Harvard University, who is Congressman Jake Ashenklaus's alma mater, so he had a special little bit of fire in his gut. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we can get into the interview, we need a little bit of context, and that comes with Donald Trump's latest legal loss to Harvard. And we can see right here, federal judge extends order blocking Trump administration ban on foreign students attending Harvard. A federal judge on Thursday extended an order blocking the Trump administration's attempt to bar Harvard University from enrolling foreign students. U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs extended the block she imposed last week with a temporary restraining order, which allows the Ivy League school to continue enrolling international students as a lawsuit. Proceeds Harvard sued the federal government on Friday after Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem revoked its ability to host foreign students at his campus in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Harvard will continue to take steps to protect the rights of our international students and scholars, members of our community who are vital to the university's academic mission and community, and whose presence here have benefited our country immeasurably. University spokesperson said on Wednesday the Trump administration announced a new effort to revoke Harvard certification to enroll foreign students, and a letter sent by the acting Immigration and Customs Enforcement Director. The government gave Harvard 30 days to respond to the alleged grounds for withdrawal, which included accusations that Harvard coordinated with federal entities and failed to respond sufficiently to anti-Semitism on campus. The developments unfolded in the courtroom not far from the Harvard campus, where speakers at Thursday's commencement ceremony stressed the importance of maintaining diverse and international student body. If we're going to talk about coordinating with foreign governments, shouldn't we first talk about Donald Trump's crypto scandal in which he took money from foreign governments? That's neither here nor there. What we really want to see is a box hose get shut down. And that's exactly what happened in this interview.
Joining me now here in Boston, Massachusetts Congressman Jake Ashenklaus, also a Harvard alum, as we've mentioned. Great to have you in.
Good morning, Shannon.
Okay, so let's start here. Harvard is scoring legal wins, that's for sure, but they've got this PR issue as well, where you've got everyday average Americans who are taxpayers who say, why are we giving billions of dollars to this university that has an enormous endowment? They've got these anti-Israel protests on campus. They don't see a representation of any kind of conservative viewpoint. Dr. Mehmet Oz, also a Harvard alum, he has said, listen, I think this school is still going to be training the best and the brightest, but they've lost their way. What do you think about that comment from him?
I've said the same myself over the last several years, that universities need to be truth-seeking institutions that bring together diverse ideological viewpoints to arrive at the facts and inform policymaking. Right now, Harvard does do a good job of that with science, and Americans benefit from high-quality science. I'll give you an example. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK, just issued a report on making America healthy again. Well, that report was riddled with made-up scientific citations. It was written probably by Gen AI. and it's completely useless because it wasn't based on science. Well, Harvard is actually doing world-leading science right now on the molecular basis of autism. Wouldn't that be useful to inform what RFK is trying to do to address the surge in autism across the United States? But the two are divorced, because instead of promoting Harvard science, the university is canceling contracts for autism researchers. How does that make Jewish students safer?
Well, to that point, Ben Sasse, former senator who has been president of 2 universities, he talks about that funding issue and says, you've got this huge endowment, so why not pull from that to fund some of that research? But he also says this: Harvard isn't owed in perpetuity the discretionary billions of federal funding it's received in the past. There's a massive gulf between finding new cancer treatments and funding campus wackiness, between developing digital technologies to enable synthetic biology and subsidizing activist professors' Hamas advocacy. He cites Gallup polling that shows Americans' confidence in higher ed has really been dropping off. He says the only way forward is for schools like Harvard to, quote, acknowledge they've screwed up.
Shannon, I agree with the senator. You didn't mention in that op-ed, he also said that this administration is not doing a good job of making the distinction between cracking down on anti-Israel unhinged protests and canceling science grants that return $5 to $8 for every taxpayer dollar put down and help create evidence-based policy. Right now, we have a system in place for time, place, and manner restrictions on protests that disrupt a suitable learning environment or are targeted harassment against students. The administration should be pursuing that under the Office of Civil Rights, not taking it out against cancer researchers.
Okay, to this point on free speech on the campus, and you talk about efforts there, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression has named Harvard the worst school in the country for free speech for 2 years running. Alan Garber, the president we saw a moment ago, he told NPR this: we've been very clear that we think we do have issues, and I would particularly emphasize the speech issues. He went on to say, with regard to the lack of conservatives on campus or to welcoming their viewpoint, he said that is a problem we really need to address.
Agreed. I've said the same thing. I think Harvard was 270th out of 270 for individual expression on campus. That needs to change. That is not going to change by Harvard, though, ceding to authoritarian bullying from the right, nor will it change by Harvard giving in to progressive orthodoxies of the left. Harvard needs to be independent. All universities should be independent, truth-seeking institutions that do research and that train the next generation of leaders. Senator Sasse is right that training the next generation of leaders is a public trust. Harvard needs to earn that trust, but it's not going to earn that trust by giving in to politics, right or left.
Is there something to be found, though, in the model of what's happening with Columbia? They've acknowledged that there are major problems on campus with anti-Semitism and that they haven't handled those protests well in the past. They've had this back and forth with the Trump administration, have come to some kind of understanding and agreement that has resulted in them putting together concrete action steps. They don't think they're ceding to, as you said, a bully on content with regard to curriculum. It's about making sure that universities receiving federal funding do have a place that is open and not hostile to any particular viewpoint.
Yeah, what the administration is asking of Harvard, though, is pedagogical and curricular control over its different departments. That's totally unacceptable. I don't care if it's a Democratic president or a Republican president. They don't get to control the curriculum of our universities.
In what way, though? Because if they're talking about, we want information on the students that are on campus, they've requested that through DHS. We want you to crack down on anti-Semitism. How is that getting to curriculum?
Well, they want hire and fire oversight over the different departments within Harvard, and that's just not something that you're going to give to a politician. What you can say is, through the Office of Civil Rights, we're going to look at suitable learning environment, we're going to look at targeted harassment, we're not going to allow that, and we're going to pursue legal cases through OCR as necessary and as they have done. I would also say that bullying foreign students is not advancing the cause of ideological diversity. I think if you take the best and brightest Chinese students, you have a choice between whether they can do their research in America or do that research in China. I'd rather them do that research in America. Right now, we're going to send them back to China to go cure cancer there or develop the next missile system there.
Well, a couple of things to the State Department. They have now said they want screening of applicants coming in, foreign students coming into Harvard, for any hint of anti-Semitism. And this issue of Chinese student visas, the State Department and Secretary Rubio have said, we want to crack down on those who have concrete ties to the Communist Party or studying in sensitive areas. Senator Tom Cotton talked about this, and he said it's time that we do that. We know that China has they have potential to spy on American researchers and others by coming into the country on these student visas. I know you've had concerns about China's influence as well.
Yeah. I was on the Select Committee on China last term. It was a bipartisan, long-term oriented committee in the House focused on exactly these questions. And I would say these concerns are largely hot air in terms of our ability to outcompete China. Right now, China has 1.3 billion people, and all their students are scoring higher on math and science than American students are. We got 25 million American students who are behind grade level on reading, writing, and arithmetic. We should worry a lot less about Chinese students and a lot more about American students. I'm going to disagree with Senator Cotton about accepting Chinese visas. One thing I hope I could agree with him on, though, is let's surge one-on-one tutoring to every student in America. Let's build 1,000 technical vocational schools, so that American students are ready to outcompete Chinese students. Because right now, we're just kicking out the best and brightest from around the world, and we're not helping our own kids.
Well, maybe you and President Trump agree on more money for trade schools, if you could find anything to agree on, and certainly in tackling our major education issues here. Congressman, thank you for coming in. Great.
MAGA does not know what they are talking about, and I feel like these people don't even like our country, and they always talk about making it great again, but I don't think they understand what made it great in the first place. What allowed us to have the most cutting-edge, leading-edge breakthroughs in science and technology, to put our economy light years above the rest of the world, to have the best universities. Does MAG not care about these things? It's like they want this isolationist America that only allows the richest like Trump, Elon, their friends, to engage with the rest of the world, while we suffer the consequences of them wanting to play pretend tough guy. It doesn't really make much sense at all, which I think is just the common thread of the Trump administration, especially when you look at someone that Jay Goshenklaus has been speaking out against a lot, and that's RFK Jr., who deserves all of the grillings that he gets. But the one that he got most recently, I think, is the one we should take a look at.
Is it Doge reviewing NIH funding opportunity announcements? Is it Doge reviewing NIH grant award?
We've got administrators, we're cutting waste, we're cutting duplicative programs.
You're funding $3 billion less in biomedical research than you did a year prior.
We're spending less on administration of those programs.
3,200 fewer grants.
We're spending, well, many of the grants were terminated because they were grants that were not advancing.
These aren't grants terminated. These are grants not awarded because the panels weren't convened.
We spend 70% of the world's biomedical research out of NIH, 70%. And we're the sickest country in the world.
$18 billion or 40% from the NIH budget slow the development of new treatments and cures?
And we are the sickest country in the world. So that money has not been well spent. We've had a 38% increase in our agency, growth in our agency over the past 4 years.
I'll ask you, is funding for Alzheimer's disease research centers DEI? Because you're holding up $65 million for 14 of those centers in 9 states, including the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Is funding for cancer centers DEI? Because you're holding up $47 million in cancer center support grants at 9 cancer centers in 8 states. Is funding for rare disease research DEI? Because you're holding up $55 million for 11 rare disease clinical research network grants in 8 states. These are just a few examples, and the list goes on and on, Secretary Kennedy. I've run out of time. I yield back.
Thank you.
This is a fun game we're playing.
Mr. Secretary, let's talk about clinical
questions and to ask questions, and don't give me a chance to answer them. Don't give me time to answer them.
RFK Jr. is holding us back. That's just the clearest way to put it. He's not just actually holding us back. He's taking us back because of his crazed conspiracy theories. And he doesn't really seem to care if he was an advocate for scientific research, for advancements, and keeping people and making people healthier. He would want us to continue with research, not relitigate settled science, just for him to continue to attack it. Again, these people have no grounding principles in any of their slogans. It's all BS. Let's not treat them like they're real. We'll be calling them out on this show, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.